Hey, what's up guys? I'm back with another video and we are finally going to talk about the Nintendo NX controller patent, the touchscreen patent that was released to the public about 6 days ago or so. Now, I've been researching this patent and going deep into it so I could give you a clear understanding of what really this is talking about. I know that there's been a lot of videos already online and articles talking about that this patent covers a controller that is a touch screen on the controller and a display basically on a Pro Controller type of style of device or controller. Now, there's much more to that than just that. In this patent, I want to read this part to you. It says, at the very end of the patent, which many people seem to be ignoring, that it says this: although certain example systems, devices, and apparatuses have been described herein, it is to be understood that the appended claims are not to be limited to the systems, devices, and apparatuses disclosed, but on the contrary, are intended to cover various modifications and equivalent arrangements included within the spirit and scope of the appended claims. So it's saying right here in the patent itself, at the very last sentence, that the information that they showed in the patent, and including the pictures and everything they displayed, was not final. It can cover various types of shapes and forms and different modifications, basically. So, but the spirit of it is what they're trying to patent. So basically, guys, what Nintendo is trying to patent in all these different patents that they have over the years is that they are trying to invent new ways of using existing technology to accomplish innovative ways of playing games, basically. Whether it be their controllers, with their game systems, with their networking, they try to innovate in those ways. So, in no way, shape, or form is this patent or these pictures that we're going to go over are final for the Nintendo NX controller. And they're not final for the Nintendo NX handheld or mobile device, if that's what this is. They are basically ideas shown to display what Nintendo is trying to accomplish with their ideas. For example, Nintendo doesn't need to patent a D-pad. They don't need to patent an A, B, X, or Y, or R, or L, or ZL, or buttons either. They don't have to patent that, and they don't have to patent analog sticks either. So let's make that clear right away. When you take a step back, think about the patents they've released. This is the third or fourth type of controller patent they've released in the past year and a half or so. Back in 2014, they released a patent that was for a controller that had interchangeable buttons. Basically, it had slots. It looked like a Wii U gamepad that had slots on the left and right of the controller where you could insert a D-pad or insert a button configuration. It even had a button configuration that looked like a diamond, like what we're used to, and it had a button configuration that had like 3 buttons across, and it had different variations of analog sticks that could be removed and placed in different spots on the controller. So they had that patent back in 2014. Then you fast forward to 2015. I'm not exactly sure on the dates, but earlier this year, they had a patent where they had a touchscreen device that had a D-pad, 2 buttons, and a couple buttons on the bottom of it in between, with just a screen in the middle with no sticks. And that patent showed the controller, talked about the controller being touch sensitive on the sides of it, with like these sensors on the sides of the device. Also, a similar patent for the same type of device showed a type of little amiibo type of character that could be scanned using that area where you could touch the side of the device or controller. So that's another part of it. Okay? Then earlier, a few months ago or so, wherever it was, they have that really cool patent that I liked about having the controller with the two mouse wheel type of scrolling buttons on the where the triggers would normally be on your controller. So on the back portion, like your ZL or L and R buttons, they were actually scrollable buttons that could be pressed in and also moved around with your finger for tracking or scrolling ability within the game. That's something that they patented for use on that controller. That controller had a D-pad, had 2 analog sticks, and only 2 front buttons for some reason. Now, people speculated, oh my god, the NX is only going to have 2 pushable buttons on there. Again, jumping to conclusions, because the patent was talking mainly about, actually only about in that one, about the scrollable trigger buttons on that. It wasn't patenting any of the other buttons or talking about them really. So that was that one. Now we have this new patent that was released a few days ago talking about this controller that looks very much like a Wii U Pro controller. It's in an oval shape, and it has the grips on both left and right. Has 2 analog sticks they're showing, and it has the L and R buttons on the top, if you want to call them that, and it has a slot in the middle for an SD card or other type of memory there, or a game card, for example. And this patent is more than just showing a touchscreen on there. The patent talks about having these sticks, and the sticks that they're using don't seem like they're normal analog sticks. They seem similar, but a little bit different. They're shaped differently, kind of like almost like a stop sign type of shape, but not fully. And they are clickable and of course rotatable sticks, but they're not quite the same as analog sticks. But you can see for yourself in the pictures. Now, they're patenting the touchscreen usage of this as virtual buttons that it can appear around these 2 sticks. So it's really interesting that they are using this, and since the entire screen is a free-form display, the holes on the left and right are for the analog sticks, and the entire rest of the screen will be like with the controller, with the sticks themselves. So they are patenting really the idea that you can use the sticks on this controller in conjunction with the screen itself. So some of the pictures showed, for example, a gun being right next to the right stick of the controller, almost like like you want to reload the top of the gun. And they also had flames surrounding the sticks also. So all for the immersion of the experience is what the patent talked about. So to be immersed in the experience, they are adding screen prompts or screen animations around the sticks that will, from what they say, bring you further into the game. There's flames around the sticks, there's a gun attached to the stick, and of course it remains to be seen how much interaction that will really increase for the user. But what people have not talked about also in this patent is that the patent mentioned that the screen will be able to produce stereoscopic imagery in 3D, basically, like the 3DS. So if you combine that 3D imagery with something like having a gun on your stick like that could be pretty cool, when you think about it. So you have the ability to be in 3D have the screen itself interact with your analog sticks. We'll just call them analog sticks for now. And you'll be able to see it all in 3D. So that sounds really cool to me so far. Now, another feature that they were showing in the patent was having a web browser. And the screen on the freeform display can be modified into a square of a browser, and while the rest of the screen is turned off. Okay? So, and it showed analog sticks having the alphabet around them. So you could actually enter words a lot easier that way. And they also showed how you could use the controller on vertically, and horizontally, changing the angle of it. Just many different ways that you can use the touch screen for use with these sticks. And a lot of things else were shown as well, but also they showed a lot of these virtual buttons that were created on the touchscreen that could be lit up, like items like swords and guns or whatever items you pick up in a certain type of game can be used as little touch icons next to these sticks on the controller. Many people were very concerned that this controller that the NX was going to have would actually not have any buttons at all, or D-pad, because of this patent. It didn't show it. But again, they're not patenting a D-pad, they're not patenting X, Y, Z, A, and B. They are patenting the idea of using these sticks with the touchscreen. So, while yes, they are patenting, they're showing how to use these interactive touch buttons, digital, that are on the screen. It doesn't talk about anything about not using a D-pad or regular buttons as well. So, when you put all these patents together, not that that's what Nintendo is necessarily doing, but it makes a lot of sense that something that's going to be a combination possibly of the two, maybe, or three of these ideas will come into fruition for the final NX design of the controller. So when you think about it this way, you have a patent that shows interchangeable buttons and D-pad and analog sticks. You have another patent that shows just the sticks and it has the touchscreen on there. And then you have another patent that has the NFC readable technology and touch ability, haptic feedback on the controller itself. You combine that together and you will have a controller that is able to do all the things that your previous controller could do, plus these new advantages that it would have as well on the touchscreen. Now, there has been a lot of mock-ups and ideas online, for example on NeoGAF, and I'm going to put up this picture right now. Now, I think this is a really good idea that this user created here, is that you have the same idea, same concept, but you have the actual buttons on the screen itself, but the buttons are see-through. Okay? It's just an idea we're throwing out there, of course, but that would make pretty good sense to have see-through buttons that are clear, that are on top of the touch screen, so you could actually something could light up underneath on the screen, and it would show the icon through that little button there as well. Or you could have it similar to how they have in the patent, where the buttons would light up somewhere else. But obviously, the Nintendo NX is going to be a system. They didn't say backwards compatible, but they've been going backwards compatible. You gotta think they're gonna do that. Now, forget about Wii U though for a second. Okay, say it's not backwards compatible with Wii U. Maybe that screen would not represent the Wii U in the way the gamepad would. It might be a little smaller. Who knows? But say it's not backwards compatible with Wii U though for a second. it's going to have a virtual console. It's going to have, you're going to want to play all your old games on there. They're going to transfer over into your Nintendo account, right? So, and you're going to want to play Smash Brothers on there, right? So it's reasonable to think that there will be either an option or the ability for that controller to have a D-pad and an analog stick and your diamond-shaped buttons on that controller. So you'll be able to play Smash Brothers, the way you like to. Obviously, most people like to play with the GameCube controller, but I guess we'll see about that. Hey, maybe you can configure the controller to work like a GameCube controller. Who knows? With the way that interchangeable patent went. But to play Super Nintendo games, you need a D-pad. To play NES games, you need a D-pad. You need the X, Y, A, B buttons on the Super Nintendo games. For the Nintendo 64, you need the C buttons, the camera buttons. You need the A and B buttons. You need the L and R buttons. You need a Z button too to figure out where that's going to be. And you need analog sticks. You need D-pads. So for Nintendo to be able to have all this on the NX, there's definitely going to be an option for you to play that way. Not only that, but as we have heard and seen, there are games already in development for the NX that are going to be ports from the PlayStation 4. Now, as we know with the Wii U, developers were not, and in no shape or form, willing to put forth the effort on the Wii U to make games that were really using the gamepad in a way that was truly innovative separately from the competition. They basically would just port their games over from the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 and put the little map on the screen and call it a day, right? So now if the Nintendo NX controller did not allow developers to port games over to a control method that took a lot of extra work and inputs and trying to make something work just like it did on the other systems, that wouldn't be a very viable way to go about business with the third parties. We already have Square Enix on board making some of these games that they've already accidentally announced, quote unquote. So obviously there's definitely going to be an option there to play like you would on a PlayStation 4 with their standard quote unquote control style. Not that I'm saying that standard way of controlling games is the best way to go. I'm willing to try new things, but Nintendo really wants to get back with having the ability to have all these games on their console and to be able to have the best version of these games. So more than likely they're going to have some way of you being able to have your D-pad, your X, Y, A, B buttons and analog sticks and triggers on this controller, but still be able to have that touchscreen interaction ability that they're patenting here. An idea that I have also, besides those clear see-through buttons, is perhaps having the grips on there, being able to perhaps twist and maybe the lower corners of the screen are able to detach and go behind the system, and you have your D-pad and your regular buttons there. Just an idea. I mean, they of course would have to have those analog sticks a little higher on this controller for them to do that. Or they could have those interchangeable grips or something like that they have in the other patent. They can have little spots where you can take out and put in different types of button configurations on the controller itself. So with Nintendo, the possibilities are endless, guys. I'm serious. It's a crazy amount of information, but I really suggest you guys look into it for yourself. I'll put the links in the description. But I think that the NX controller will be a combination of this. It's not going to be one or the other, because there's so many ideas that are thrown out there. And again, they're not patenting these button configurations, that we already know about. They're patenting the ideas that they're trying to make innovative to further their development, to further their innovation, and to further their difference, the Nintendo difference from their competitors. Now, we already know about the rumored power of the system. If they combine these two with the innovation of this controller, the sky's the limit. And then how this will interact with your TV, I'm really not sure. And the patent did talk about it having a CPU, so this could be the handheld version of the NX as well. More than likely, though, it's going to be able to be used as a controller on your NX console. So again, it's going to need to have those other buttons available to you. Also, you're going to want to play like Smash Brothers, right? You play Smash Brothers on your 3DS, you play Mario Kart, you play all these Nintendo games and the Virtual Console on your 3DS too. If it is the handheld device, it's going to have to give you those options somehow. This looks like an idea, and an idea that can be easily melded with all these other ideas that they've had over the past couple years. And we already have the other patent a couple months ago, like we talked about, that did have a D-pad on it and did have buttons. So, like I said, stay tuned for more, and it's going to be coming up very soon because 2016 is only about 14 days away or so, and we're going to be hearing a lot more of this information on the NX. And of course, with dev kits out there, we're going to be hearing a lot more of that too. But thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it's shed some more light on this information. There's a lot more there than just a touch screen on your controller. It's not just another gamepad, it's a lot more than that. So appreciate all your support, guys, and your comments. Let me know what you think, and I'll be talking to you in the comment section. Take it easy.